Yesterday, we uploaded an in-depth video on why gamers are so excited for Sekiro Shadows Die Twice and why that game has potential to be so insane, and that game is without a doubt the biggest game for the rest of March. I know that's a small timetable to use, but there are a couple of interesting games coming out in the rest of this month, and I point to you one that I'm going to talk about in today's video, and that is Generation Zero. Generation Zero is releasing just 4 days after Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, so you can imagine all of the attention is on Sekiro right now, and Generation Zero is going a little bit under the radar, but this game is shaping up to be really good, and I really want to highlight it ahead of its release on March 26th. Now, this is a game being developed by Avalanche Studios, and a lot of you guys probably aren't familiar with Avalanche Studios. Yesterday, I talked about how From Software is almost at that tier of developers like a Naughty Dog, a Guerrilla Games, a Rockstar, whatever the case may be. Avalanche Studios definitely isn't in that tier in that they're regarded by the entire gaming community as this elite game developer, but they have been around for quite a while. Most of you guys would know them for the Just Cause games. They also did the Mad Max title back in 2015, and I thought Mad Max was a very good game. Unfortunately, that game had the unfaithful day to be released on September 1st, 2015, the same day as Metal Gear Solid 5, two open world games being released on the same day. Which one do you think gamers went with? Yes, they went with MGS5, and that was probably the right decision, but Avalanche did a really good job with Mad Max as well. And I always like to give that game credit. Now, it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows for Avalanche Studios. Again, the majority of you guys know them for Just Cause, and if you've been familiar with the Just Cause franchise for the last couple of years or so, you might know that it's been a little bit of a rocky road. Just Cause 1 and 2 were really good. Just Cause 3, from a fundamental standpoint, I thought was quite a good game. Unfortunately, technically speaking, that game was a train wreck on consoles. Nowadays, it performs a lot better, and I actually recommend you guys to pick it up when it's on sale for like $6. And most recently, they did put out Just Cause 4. Unfortunately, that game did not turn out all too well, and it was a legitimate step backwards for the Just Cause franchise. I don't know whether to blame Avalanche. I don't know if Square Enix had strict timetables for the game, but whatever the case may be, Just Cause 4 was not a very good game. However, Avalanche as a studio has been very busy. They were working on Just Cause 4, they're helping out with Rage 2, and the game that we're going to be covering in today's video, Generation Zero. And I think Generation Zero has a lot of potential, and it could be the game that puts Avalanche on the map and makes people take a bigger notice to them, especially because, unlike Just Cause and unlike Rage 2, those games have the distinction of being games published by other third parties. Rage 2 being published by Bethesda, Just Cause 4 being published by Square Enix. In the case of Generation Zero, this looks to be a big budget title. However, it is a self-published title coming from Avalanche, and I do believe their very first one, so that in its own right gives it a little bit of a distinction. And you guys are seeing some gameplay right now. Visually, the game looks stunning, but I think Generation Zero, the real strength of the game comes from its premise. The game is set in 1980 Sweden, which is already a very unique setting, and here's a little bit of a trivia note for you guys. Avalanche Studios is actually based in Stockholm, so that makes a lot of sense, and they can probably do that setting a lot of justice. So yes, 1980 Sweden is what we're working with. However, it's an alternate version of 1980 Sweden. Not everything is how it was back in the 80s. The local population has disappeared and hostile machines roam the streets. The game will feature a large open world, so right in Avalanche's wheelhouse. Pretty much every game Avalanche puts out is an open world game. Mad Max, Just Cause, Rage 2, all open world titles. So they're gonna feel right at home with this, and you'll be able to explore that open world to unravel the mystery, perfect your fighting strategies, and prepare to strike back. Play alone or together with up to 3 friends as you discover your ways to defeat the invaders. And I make a lot of point about the word of invaders because these aren't your normal invaders. It's not like these are just humans coming down. No, they are machines. These large mechs that you and your friends are gonna have to team up, or you by yourself, and you're gonna have to find a way to take down these mechs. The enemies you face in Generation Zero also come in many different sizes, types, and variations. All of them will have a unique playset, all of them will have a unique style to them, and how you take them down will obviously differ from mech to mech. They're also constantly challenging you in new ways of using different weapons and sensory equipment. A lot of that will be at your arsenal as well. To give you guys a rundown through the mech, we'll go from smallest to largest. There's the Tick, there's the Seeker, there's the Runner, the Hunter, the Harvester, and the enormous Tank. Now, those are the ones that were just noted by Avalanche. It's not certain if there's going to be more than that, but that's already a pretty big variety in its own right. So from a gameplay standpoint, it looks like it's going to have a lot of depth, a lot of strategy in how you tackle every different scenario. But before I delve more into the gameplay, I also want to talk a little bit about the presentation, because 1980 Sweden is such an awesome setting, and you could have probably gotten away with a typical open world with all these big mechs roaming around and just make it a rather vanilla setting. But in the case of Generation Zero, it has a setting with some flavor to it. And again, you get to explore this vast open world, and it's rendered beautifully with the Apex engine, so it looks really good. It's going to feature a full day and night cycle, so there's always going to be a little bit of dynamisty in how you explore the world and what you're going to encounter, and there's going to be unpredictable weather, complex AI behavior, simulated ballistics, highly realistic acoustics, and a dynamic 1980s soundtrack. So that soundtrack should really harken back to the setting of the game as well. So I think presentation-wise, yes, from a technical standpoint, it looks great, but it looks like Avalanche has really nailed down some of the nuances as well, and I'm very happy for that with Generation Zero, as you need a little bit of flavor, especially in today's gaming climate, where just about every game has been done to death, and you do need those little bit of differences to set games apart from one another. And it's an absolutely explosive game. Of course, you as regular humans fighting these large mechs, it's not just gonna be run and gun and you're gonna be able to just take down these mechs no problem. No, you'll experience an explosive game of cat and mouse set in a huge open world. It's a reimagining of 80s Sweden. Hostile machines have invaded the serene countryside, and you need to fight back while unraveling the mystery of what is really going on. So how they put it at that way, it looks like the game will have a narrative attached to it as well, even as a co-op focused game, or just a game with a strong cooperative element. Sometimes the narrative does get lost in this, but with Generation Zero, they seem to always go back to the aspect of unraveling the mystery and why the mechs are actually here. So that makes me hopeful that a narrative will be intact. Am I expecting something stellar? No, Avalanche isn't usually known for that. I mean, you look at Just Cause, it's not like those games are narrative masterpieces, but hey, Generation Zero might surprise you. You'll be utilizing battle-tested guerrilla tactics. You'll be able to lure, cripple, or destroy enemies in intense creative sandbox skirmishes. And again, it's 1 to 4 player seamless multiplayer, and the cooperative element of this game is something that I think is going to work really well. If you play this game solo, you're probably going to be able to have some fun with it, but based on the footage that I've seen, I think this is a game that's really going to be accentuated based on its cooperative play. You can go it alone, or you can team up with up to 3 of your friends in a seamless co-op multiplayer. You'll collaborate and combine your unique skills to take down enemies, support down friends by reviving them, and share the loot after an enemy is defeated. So the loot will be shared. I don't know if that's going to make the game a little bit less challenging, but because you are fighting off these gigantic mechs and these gigantic behemoths, having a couple friends by your side seems to make a lot of sense. And again, it's not going to be all run and gunning. Maybe with the smaller mechs you'll be able to do that, but stealth and strategy is going to be a big element to the game, and you're going to have to cooperate with one another to live. All enemies are persistently simulated in the world and roam the landscape with intent and purpose. They're not just roaming there to find you and kill you. They have their own reason being there. When you manage to destroy a specific enemy component, be it armor, weapons, or sensory equipment, the damage to it is permanent. So it's not like you just leave it and then they come back and they're fully restored. No, the world is persistent and it stays intact. Enemies will bear those scars until you face them again, whether that is minutes, hours, or weeks later. Again, I think I've gotten you guys up to speed with Generation Zero at this point. I have a lot of anticipation for the game, and I know a lot of you guys are busy with some of other March's big releases. I mean, if you're still playing Devil May Cry 5, you might be busy with that. The Division 2 is about to come out, so for a lot of you guys looking for a multiplayer game to play with friends, you might go towards that. And of course, in just 9 days, we have the release of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, so Generation Zero, as this brand new IP, it's got a lot of competition. However, I did want to put some light on it just because of its unique premise. Again, 1980s Sweden, hostile mechs, it's just a premise you don't see a lot in video games, and I give Avalanche a lot of credit in trying something a little bit zany, a little bit wacky, and we've seen games like Horizon Zero Dawn when they've tried something a little bit off the wall. Even with a completely serious tone, that game has turned out really well. Am I expecting Generation Zero to be as big of a commercial success as that? It's a completely different style of game, of course. I just used Horizon as a comparison point, but Avalanche, an incredibly talented studio, and again, being a self-published title, this could be the game to get them on the map. And of course, if you guys have been following this channel for quite a while, you know I am always a little bit hesitant in recommending games for $59.99, and I love it when I see new games be priced less than $59.99. Generation Zero will be released at $34.99, so that is a much more palatable price point. Now, what does that mean in terms of the overall scale and longevity of the game? Maybe it will be a smaller game, but $35 for a game like this, just based on the visuals and based on what I'm seeing, they could have easily gotten away with a $49.99 or a $59.99 price point, but I think Avalanche knows that if they want people to get into this new IP, they need to make it as accessible as possible. And again, with a game like this being accentuated by its cooperative play, you want all your friends to buy it too, and a $59.99 price point might be a little bit of a barrier, but at $35, again, much more palatable. Avalanche Studios continues to stay super busy after the lackluster Just Cause 4. I really hope they can get back on track with Generation Zero, and I hope this is another building block as we head into the release of Rage 2, because Avalanche has a lot of attention on them right now. And if they deliver with Generation Zero, if they do good with Rage 2, I think a lot of people will be taking notice to them. Unfortunately, again, Just Cause 4 was just a rather big disappointment, but Generation Zero is so different. It's It's so unique, and in that aspect, I am very excited for the game. That's gonna conclude this video. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Is this a game you're gonna pick up on day one? Are you still a little bit hesitant on it? Are you a little bit skeptical on it? Are you gonna be busy with a lot of the other games? Again, a lot of competition surrounding Generation Zero, but I do think this could be a sleeper hit in this early 2019 period. That's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.